provided to you by Xsola.
Hello, what's up, everybody? Welcome to TWIG 127. You got myself, Joe Kim, Mishka Katkoff, Eric Kress, and Adam Telfer. Today, we're going to be talking about 4 articles. First, exclusive. Tencent's Timi Gaming Studio generated $10 billion in 2020, sources say, by Reuters. Second, Manticore raises $100 million for user-generated games in the Multiverse by VentureBeat. Third, Clash of Clans reveals 3 new games, Clash Quest, Mini, and Heroes by Screen Rant. And finally, Wild Rift is League of Legends for everyone by Polygon. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Eric, you've got a confused look on your face. What's going on?
I'm a little slow this morning, I have to admit. So luckily, I'm not going to be the star of the show this time.
All right. In that case, I guess we could jump straight into updates. So I've got 2 updates from me. First, PocketGamer.biz is noting that according to Sensor Tower data, hyper-casual games downloads peaked in Q1 of last year in 2020 and has since then decreased every quarter since then. And through the pandemic, Pocket Gamer notes that the big winners in terms of genre was the puzzle category, which managed to see an 11% year-over-year increase, and simulation grew 13% year over year. Also, Inner Sloths Among Us was the biggest winner in terms of downloads between Q2 through Q4 of last year. Next update from me, as a huge Final Fantasy fan, Final Fantasy creator Hironobu Sakaguchi has returned with the launch of Fantasian, an epic RPG, on Apple Arcade last week. So as a huge fan, I just wanted to call that game out. Very unique art style, looks pretty cool. So if there are any Apple Arcade subscribers out there, be sure to check it out.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Whoever has Apple Arcade, then will
we
enjoy
all
that
have
game.
Apple Arcade. Come on, we're just hiding it. A couple updates on my side. So some news I found. So Nielsen shuts down Superdata, and there was, of course, all the time these sort of rumors that we've addressed here. Not rumors, but just issues with their data being inaccurate. And probably the biggest one was when Epic's CEO came in and kind of gave his data regarding what data Superdata was having in terms of Fortnite. I don't remember. We covered it on this podcast like 50 episodes ago. But nevertheless, Nielsen is shutting Superdata down. And second thing was Play Ventures. So Play Ventures announced second fund of $135 million. So Play Ventures is premier VC focusing purely on gaming. I think they invested in Adam. Did they invest in your studio back in the days? Yeah.
Yep.
So, and of course, investor in Savage Games, my studio. So, Eric, here you have it. We have ties. Congratulations to Play Ventures, a massive second fund.
Well, I'm surprised we're not like dedicating half the episode to Play Ventures, given your affiliation. I mean.
We should.
Anyway, Superdata. I think Superdata shutting, even though it was notoriously inaccurate, as you say, it still was the only source of information for a lot of things in the marketplace that we won't see, particularly microtransactions and et cetera, that it will be missed. And so, as an analyst, I have to figure out how to figure out a different way of tracking that to keep tabs on what's going on. So I'm surprised that no one picked this thing up, right? That someone didn't just say, hey, yeah, we'll take it over. We'll give you pennies on the dollar for it. But instead, Nielsen just shut the thing down because they did acquire it only a few years ago. So anyway, bizarre. All right, my update on an update. So last week we talked about Newzoo, and Newzoo reached out. They want to clear up the misunderstanding about their cloud gaming forecast. All right, gotcha. Of course, their analyst is some electrical engineer, with a master's of business from Oxford, right? She is going to wipe the fucking floor with me. Just to be clear, right? I know this is going to happen because just a bunch of nonsense, right? She's going to talk methodology and I don't know, dude. I'm doomed. I know I'm doomed.
Wait, are you going to talk to her
or Michigan, and walk
or is she going to go on with
Michigan and chat through this, their methodology and their output?
We'll see. We'll do whatever.
Okay.
Right.
I'm very interested to see how they came up with that calculation.
It's only fair that they have a chance to respond, and it does sound like from the communications I've had with Newzoo that they seem like good people. So yeah.
Yeah, and then I do want to make a correction because it wasn't Newzoo that forecasted VR. It was IDC. Basically, they said that there was going to be a 65 million install base by 2020. Come on, dude. I mean, we're at like 20 million tops, But anyway, all these forecasts I think are overly ambitious. VR, AR, esports, and of course cloud gaming. And so, I look forward to talking to Newzoo about it. And they have been actually building this report for a while now. And she gave me an old version of the report, so I'll definitely look through it before we talk to her. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, guys, starting the news. Our first news article is from Reuters. Exclusive. Tencent's Timi gaming studio generated $10 billion in 2020, sources say. And so in what Reuters is calling an exclusive article, they state that Tencent's Timi gaming studio generated $10 billion in 2020, according to two unnamed secret squirrel sources. So this would make Timi the world's largest developer. Reuters then suggests that this provides a basis for Timi to move beyond mobile and compete directly with global heavyweights in AAA titles on console. Most interestingly, in a recruitment notice last month, apparently a Timi engineer wrote that the company is aiming to build a new AAA game that resembles the virtual community from Ready Player One and will, quote, compete head-to-head against big powers from Japan, Korea, Europe, and US. Further, Tencent is building studios overseas, including one studio each for Timi and one for Lightspeed and Quantum, which is the other famous Tencent-owned studio. And so both of those studios are going to be based in LA. And despite being based in LA, apparently these new studios intend on developing original IP. So Tencent has ambitions to increase its revenue to over half from overseas. And at least in Q4 of 2019, it generated 23% of its revenue from overseas. And while Tencent doesn't break down its revenue for individual studios, apparently these two secret sources say that Timi accounted for 40% of Tencent's overall game revenue. Of the remaining gaming revenue, apparently Lightspeed and Quantum contributed 29% of the overall Tencent gaming revenue, while 26% was proceeds from publishing for other developers such as Aurora Studios Group. Any thoughts, guys?
Yeah, this feels like Tencent's endgame or master plan whole kind of coming together from my perspective. I think Timi and Lightspeed are incredible developers. And I think now working with Western IP and pretty much having like a nearly perfect hit track record, right? To be basically $1 billion plus lifetime for really every title they're developing. They're incredible, right? Each are focused on PvP, cosmetic-based live models built for mobile and cross-platform really from the ground up. So it's going to be incredibly difficult to out-operate these companies without reaching their scale. And I think they're right in terms of AAA devs, Western AAA devs can definitely reach the scale, but don't have the talent or the focus to out-operate these companies in live. So I think only MiHoYo, hopefully I got that right, I keep getting those confused, has been able to do this, right? And I just like looking at their next game, the survival shooter from Timi, looks great, right? It's a great fit for the studio, given what's happening with PUBG and Call of Duty, and it really makes sense for the next franchise for them to develop. I'm also expecting them to do some sort of a looter shootery thing from Timi or Lightspeed as well, and will be even more difficult to compete given the content requirements. Eric?
Yeah, I mean, these guys have executed flawlessly. Even with Call of Duty, when initial results were relatively disappointing from a monetization perspective, I think they just doubled down and just threw goddamn tons of bodies at it to create, more content and live ops for the game. And now it continues to do extremely well beyond our expectations. Just as a little bit of a backdrop, I think I've said this in the podcast before, but I remember when I was at Kabam, we talked to all these guys, Netmarble, NetEase, Tencent, etc. And all of them were completely not dismayed, but concerned about growth in China because it's so competitive, right? And their goal and their strategy, and this was about 8 years ago, was to expand in the West by any means necessary, right? Because they felt that there was a lot more opportunities to grow, to take share from the West. And I believe, I mean, it's just pretty clear is that Tencent was the most aggressive and definitely has been rewarded. Netmarble has been strong. NetEase has made a lot of investments. But again, in some ways, you could view this as a negative that China is kind of taking over, et cetera, et cetera. But the other thing is it's created a lot of opportunities for investment in Western companies. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but they are kind of the money that's helping fuel this, and they were early, right? And now we have all the VCs coming out and investing in all these, freaking metaverse companies. But China was just very, very aggressive on the mobile side and have done extremely well.
Yeah, maybe a couple.
You're completely right in terms of these investors moving over and focusing on metaverse style companies instead of all these. Like, you look at the track record of Tencent, who they picked up over the last few years, right? Especially last year with Digital Extremes, and you got Grinding Gear Games before that. They've picked up the most amazing future-facing AAA console studios long before anybody was even thinking about this.
Yeah, maybe a couple thoughts on Tencent for me is that, well, and Timi in particular, I also have had an opportunity to meet those guys and talk to them. They definitely think at massive scale. That's just how their thinking is completely around that. I also think, though, that in terms of being able to develop more share in the West, it seems like they're trying to learn it. From anecdotally, it seems like they've hired every consultant available in the Western markets, which I think is actually going to hurt them more than help them. But I also think you shouldn't count out racing. So remember, their first huge hit was QQ Speed. So, don't count that out.
Yeah, and to be clear, I mean, part of the reason that they can operate in this way, I mean, they're unfettered, right? Like EA, Activision, Take-Two, all these big companies in the West are responsible to shareholders on a quarterly basis, and so is Tencent to some degree, but they also have just a lot of other stuff that's going on, and so they have the ability to make insane investments that it would not be prudent for most other in companies to do, right? And it's also an advantage of being from a Chinese company as well. So they have some advantages from the perspective of resources, but also the capabilities and not as many checks compared to other Western companies. So it is not quite an even playing field to some degree. But anyway, they're making some great games and they're doing extremely well and teaching us, what the consumer is willing to do or willing to play and buy and spend. All right, next, Manticore, my favorite. They raised $100 million for user-generated games in the Multiverse. I think
why
actually,
did they say Multiverse, not Metaverse?
Oh,
is it just like a? No. But that is the name of the article, isn't it? Why is it Multiverse?
I think we're going to ban those two words from the podcast from now on. I think we're
at least be consistent. All right.
No, it's just I don't know. It's just so hyped. These words, they don't even have any meaning anymore. But anyway, okay, the amount is huge, right? But Rec Room just raised $100 million at a $1.2 billion valuation. Dapper Labs, which does CryptoKitties and NBA Top Shops, raised $305 million. How did I miss that? I didn't even see that. Anyway, whatever. It's crazy. XN led the round, and SoftBank, London Venture Partners, Benchmark, Bitcraft, and Correlation Ventures, and also Epic participated as well. They are releasing exclusively on the Epic Store on April 15th. So this is right before that happens. They have like 20,000 free games, about 500,000 projects that have started, and over 1 million player accounts and creators. So they're basically preparing for the onslaught of releasing on the Epic Store, which should increase their penetration significantly. They said in the article, Manticore does about a 50-50 split with creators versus 70-30, so 30 for developers on Roblox and 30-70 for most other platforms in the world, right? So 70% to the creators on the App Store, etc. And he actually put it very succinctly, desk camps, right? Is that how you pronounce his name? Anybody know?
The comps or something like that. The comps.
Christ. There's no way I'm pronouncing it. Okay. They basically say the demand side, the supply side, the engine, the servers, the tech, and the community. It's a lot of work to build the quote unquote. I'm going to say community-based gaming. How about that? All right. So my take, I think it's a great team of folks. A lot of old EA, Zynga, etc. They have a huge task ahead of them to compete with the likes of Roblox and Epic. And Frederick, I'm going to call him Frederick. I'm not to pronounce his last name. Frederick basically says it very well. The demand, supply, engine, servers, tech, and community is a very expensive thing to do. That's pretty much sums it up, right? And even though 100 million is a shit ton of money, and for particularly for a small company like this, a relatively small company, it's just basically insane. So just to be clear, I mean, for the demand side, they have to track users and retain them with a strong ecosystem of products and services. They have the supply. They have to establish a relationship with developers and provide them tools and technology and support to help build games. From the engine, they have to basically have a separate team that actually is building up the engine and the tools and technologies for the developers. And then the back end, which is what Roblox does extremely well, is hosting these all on the server side to make it as seamless as possible, no matter where you are in the world. And then obviously, community of users and creators building community systems around that is just a very Herculean task. And again, these are the biggest challenges of building these type of social systems, right? Like social games. Now I can't even remember my own terminology. And it just takes a lot more investment than traditional gaming. And again, you need to build and support every aspect of the ecosystem to make it successful. So I guess my biggest concern right now, if I were to be, the cynic that I am, is the business model, right? So, as long as Epic has Fortnite and other means of generating revenue, they don't really need to charge 50%, 30%, or whatever. They can charge whatever they want to charge, and they will likely undercut the rest of the competition, particularly based upon what Sweeney has talked about in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if they do like a 15% less tax or rev share when they build out their kind of Epic Universe tool. And this would be a huge draw from developers because it's a really well-funded, obviously, and really well-known with a huge platform. And they charge 15 versus 70 for Roblox. I mean, I think that's a huge concern, or 50 for Manticore. And it could be, it just seems to be that would draw people away from these other systems. And I don't think Manticore could really survive on a 15% split. So it's basically the power of the big, ultimately. But I'm really excited to see what Manticore does and how they create. As I said in the last time, I think they will basically build these tools and technologies and perhaps get acquired ultimately. But I want to give a shout out to Patrick Buechner, who was my boss's boss at EA way back then. He joined about a year ago. I'm really excited for him and his team, and he's definitely building up quite a marketing org over there to help support this. So very cool.
Yeah, I just want to make an exclusive announcement on this podcast here for everybody. Is that exclusive. My studio, we are now building a UGC NFT metaverse flywheel shooter game, and we're raising $100 million for that. So if anyone's interested, just hit me up.
Anyway, you can only get the money if you keep a straight face while you pitch that.
It's called Crypto Blocks Core. So anyway, hit me up. Anyway, what do you guys think?
One thing that I'm thinking about here is, do you remember all those narrative platform games on mobile? I forget all their names, right? Like episode choices, all this stuff. There was the first one, which was UGC driven. Was that episodes?
Yeah, it was episodes.
That was episodes?
I think it was episodes.
And then there was another one which came out afterwards. I think it was choices. It was Pixelberry, which was more IP driven, more say quality, fewer bits of content, and actually ended up leapfrogging the original, which was based on UGC, right? So what my recommendations to Manticore would be, it's kind of a weird analogy, right? But you look at these two different platforms, like Roblox is already filled with, right, like hundreds and thousands of games. Really, a lot of the engagement gets concentrated in quite a few of them. So if you really want to move people over, I'm assuming you're going to have to try to figure out, how do I get the right content elevated to the right people to retain enough of a player base to begin with? So seed up that flywheel, or whatever the hell we're going to call it, right?
God.
Seed, right? Like basically get the right developers into the game, building great shooter game modes that could go into this service and actually retain enough of a player base that then could start the whole cycle over and over again, right? Because I feel like there's an analogy here of quality versus quantity. And I think 20,000 games, great on a pitch deck, but it's really about how do we get 10 to 20 of those game modes into this game that can already start retaining those players. And then, of course, partner with those devs to the point that they will stay within your service. Because I completely agree with Eric. I think the risk to Manticore really is Fortnite. And I think Epic will sweep the floor with them. If they actually, as soon as they come out with a strong creative mode that has the same types of hooks as Roblox and this whole like giant, all these modes, all these different things that people can jump into, I think it's going to be very, very hard for Core to compete. I think people are already invested in Fortnite.
Let me just clarify what you're suggesting. Are you suggesting they basically do the HBO model versus the TNT USA, where they basically, find developers, find IP, and build more of a higher end service?
I don't know who TNT is. Do they just make a bunch of crappy shows?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
They just aggregate a bunch of shit.
I just don't think you're going to be able to compete with Roblox and Epic if we're just going to build a whole bunch of content and hope one sticks, right? I think thinking about that analogy of episodes and choices, it's going to be about focusing on quality.
Yeah. No, I might actually go talk to Patrick about that. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Actually, I think I said that to Patrick the last time we spoke. So you and I think very similarly. It's like, I don't think you can compete with these guys, and I think the only way is to carve out a niche. And again, like what we said before, I think there could be a gazillion multiverses, and then this fan is not going to be happy with that statement. But I think there's just going to be many communities that are around social content and user generated content. So you gotta pick your niche, not try to be everything for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But isn't their play basically older Roblox? Like what?
Sure, but
Roblox
I feel like
been trying to do?
I feel like Epic will own that. Like the whole point of Fortnite was aging out Minecraft.
Yeah, that
and
was
Roblox
original
players.
Minecraft.
Subjectively, that's what I believe, right? So they might be able to take it in the beginning, but you have to be looking over the horizon and seeing Epic building out this creative mode and saying, how are you going to compete with that?
I don't know. It's exciting though. I'm excited to see what ends up happening.
Congrats to everybody.
I'm a big believer.
There's a lot of great people at this
Let's
company, so I can't really knock them. But of course, the whole purpose of this podcast is to be critical and to ask those tough strategic questions, right?
Wait. I think I have one. Hold on. I have one criticism though, is that Frederick looks like he is the typical EA employee. He's got that BMI. He's got that look. I've heard he's actually really, really smart, but that's a warning sign, right? Like that you gotta make sure that he's got something behind the good looks and the charisma, like the Mr. Face Man. But I've heard good things about him. But that's my only like.
So your criticism is that he's handsome.
He's too good looking. That's the thing. You can't be that good looking, dude. And it's just sketchy, I don't know. I don't like it.
Man. Well, all right. Talking about good looking, let's talk about the April's Fool Supercell releasing 3 Clash games announcing 3 different Clash games. So Clash of Clans reveals 3 new games: Clash Quest, Clash Mini, and Clash Heroes. So 3 games. Everybody has watched these videos. It has like 6 million views. I'm just gonna go one by one the games and then talk a bunch of shit, as we always do on this podcast. So Clash Quest is the first one. It's an adventurous island hopping turn-based strategy games. You create dynamic troop combos, you take enemies and colossal bosses, quest through new islands in last in the Clash world. So this game actually released today, and I've been playing it today, even during this podcast, as you guys were talking. It's a level-based single-player puzzle game. The troops are essentially your turns, and when you run out of troops, you lose the match, and the game's trying to destroy your troops. It looks fun, what I wrote here, and it actually plays pretty fun. It's very close to Legends of Solgard that was released by Snowprint Studios and published by King. It kind of has a Clash twist to it, but if you play those two games, quite similar. The way they tell a story, all the strategies, everything is quite similar. They're promising that there's going to be more depth through different item builds and the bosses. I've encountered one boss, and I can't really say that there's that much depth to the game, at least yet. But of course, I've been playing only for an hour. They're kind of a USP is that they're deepening the Clash world. You guys will probably play this game. I found the narrative quite kiddish, to be honest. And then it didn't really, at least for me, deepen the Clash world at all. It was more like, kind of almost like placeholder text. So, and then the art style was very blocky, sort of a typical Supercell. Not the highest quality of art. Somebody would say maybe kiddish to some extent. Again, my personal opinion, it didn't blow my hair back. Like I played the game, it didn't feel like this was something new. At least this first game, it felt quite familiar. There's nice little twists. I will be playing this game further because it's Supercell game. But again, the expectations are pretty huge. And of course, this game is made by, the game lead is Touko Tahkokallio, who's by far one of the smartest designers in the world. So the expectations personally, from my side, from this game, for this game are super high. So if I sound negative, it's because I have such mad respect towards the person who's making this game that every time I feel like he's coming with a game, it has to kind of blow my hair back. Like it has to be like, wow, I've never seen this before. So that didn't happen to me. Maybe my expectations are a little bit too high, but you guys will play it soon, probably through and download it. But curious to hear what others think. Game number 2. So one of the game is out of Helsinki, and 2 of the games are out of their Shanghai studio. So the second game that they announced was called Clash Mini. It's a strategic board game set within the Clash universe, where players position their favorite characters and watch them come to life for battle. Or you could just say it's Clash Auto Chess. Like, let's be honest, guys. Come on. Like, what are we trying to do here? In the presentation of this game, they avoid word auto chess, even though this is an auto chess game. I think the audience fit for this game is great because it's a strategy PvP game, and Clash is strategy PvP game, so it's kind of like a different take on it. Weirdly, they went with a super simplistic art style. The whole idea was to kind of imagine this as a board game played by the Clash characters. So they have this like almost like these, I don't know, looks like almost like pop toys, like those Blitz toys. Anyway, maybe maybe
Funko.
Exactly. So maybe it's good for readability. They talk a lot about cuteness of this game. And I don't know, when I think about auto chess and strategic games, like cute is not the first thing that when I think about the art style. Like I wish this game was more cute, but I don't know. So the kind of like a question is always that in March 2020, so pretty much a little bit over a year ago, both Valve and Riot launched their auto chess games literally months after the whole auto chess frothy time came along. Like when people were watching auto chess on Twitch, these gigantic companies came out with their auto chess games super quickly. Like TFT has been on for a good year now. And then like Supercell is coming now over a year later since Riot globally launched their auto chess game. And for me, it's kind of like hard to fathom because Riot, like it's a gigantic company, a lot of people, probably a lot of decision making, quality bar is super high. Like everything is slower because it's a big company. And they're able to do something way faster than Supercell. So now, like my question is like, okay, so this game must be, solved so many issues with auto chess because the auto chess craze ended a year ago. Like nobody's making auto chesses anymore. And now Supercell is coming so much later. So maybe they figured out something that we don't know. So it's super interesting to play this game. I quite like auto chess games. So.
No, dude. Okay. Whoa. Dude, they didn't figure shit out, dude. This fucking genre doesn't make money, dude. They're not going to make money at it. They're going to fucking throw a gajillion users at it. Is this, wait a minute. I thought this was still an April Fool's joke. This is actually real. I wasn't paying any attention when I saw it. I'm like, I'm not gonna waste my time looking at this bullshit because it's April Fool's joke.
It's real, dude.
This is real.
I thought it was
All right.
April's Fool. Like I actually wrote in my notes, this must be an April's Fool joke. But I played one of the games, so clearly nobody would make a game as an April Fool's joke. But Eric, I mean, to some extent, you're right. But word on the street is that TFT is making money hand over fist. Like, yes, that.
Well, I mean, I think the word on the street is that Riot still firmly believes it will be $1 billion game.
You're out of your
Very
fucking
firmly.
mind. You're out of your fucking mind. What is going on?
Listen, I'm the one.
It's top.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty good word on the street. Yeah.
It's top 30 on Twitch. Roughly the same as PUBG. So I guess if you're talking like $1 billion, how many years does it take to get there?
Lifetime. That's a typical Riot bar.
Out of your goddamn minds. That game's not making any money.
No,
dude.
like I'm
We're the messenger. Eric.
I'm the one who
that's
plays
what they
actually
believe.
TFT, and I'm like, this game can't be making money because I would pay for something, but there's nothing worth paying. And when I heard from credible sources, multiple credible sources, that this game is on its way to become $1 billion franchise, I was like, I don't know shit. So that's good to remember. Now that I'm talking about this auto chess game, that it might be the biggest thing ever, and maybe it's the perfect art style, and they figured out something about monetization that this game will work actually on mobile. But again, for me, it feels really weird that this game is so late from the competition. Everybody launched these games so much earlier than Supercell. So I don't know why this would happen. Anyway, let's move on to game number 3, which is the game that I'm really excited about, actually. So the game number 3 is you explore the Clash world like never before. You take your favorite Clash characters to undiscovered lands, complete epic quests, and become legendary Clash heroes. Now, this game, like when I was watching the video, like it stood out by miles from everything before because it actually looked familiar, but it was still fresh. It looked new. It looked epic. It had a great art style. It offered multiplayer, action RPG. It was made in Unreal, and which is I think it's a great thing. Supercell's engine is really old, so them using Unreal is interesting point. The content pipeline for this kind of game is going to be a little bit of a hellish one, but I'm confident that Nan, who we actually talked about in this podcast, he's the game lead for this game, used to work at Riot. I think this team is going to pull it off. Like this game looks truly new and something that I would expect from Supercell. So hats off to Nan's Shanghai team. Fucking badass looking game. And kind of going to the second part of the feedback, it was kind of funny because I was watching these videos with sound on, and what Eric?
Dude, it's an action RPG, right? Like it's a dual stick action RPG. How many of those have failed in the West? Like a gajillion, right? Like what the fuck are we talking about? I don't understand. Like they've basically gone after the 3. Well, the first one is the only one that makes somewhat of sense, but the other ones have already failed a gajillion times with huge IPs. They're going to funnel all their users to these games. They're not going to monetize. They're going to churn out, and they're going to be kind of worse than they were before. Just the same with Clash Royale, right?
Well, ARPGs aren't that great in the West, but you got to say globally, especially in Asia, they do pretty well.
No. Their content's not going to play in Japan or even
Clash was like top 10 in
South
Japan.
Korea.
Yeah, because they spent $1 gajillion to get their game in there. Like it's not. Oh, dude, this okay. All right, I didn't actually spend a lot of time looking at this, and I don't want to be off the cuff
doing
here.
The Japan launch, so I kind of know the budgets.
They didn't spend on TV. They didn't spend on yes. They didn't spend in terms of advertising.
Of course, there was advertising spend, but it wasn't anything that would be like absolutely outrageous and paid to the top. There were a whole different. I thought it was like $20-30 million, and they were doing like advertising on. You're thinking about later stages with Korea and so forth. Like, yeah, that's a different one.
Dude, What I'm saying is that's not replicable and it's not profitable, right? The amount of money they spent, you can't. It's just
This is just my opinion.
Oh,
I think this
whatever.
game
All right.
looked really good, and it played differently than action. I played action RPGs on mobile. I played the Marvel one that made about 100 million a year. It plays a little bit different. Like this game looked more like Brawl Stars type of stuff than the sort of a typical action RPG, which is almost like a MOBA-ish.
Dude, it doesn't have autoplay. It's a single character. I can't tell. Sorry, I should shut up. I'll look at it. We'll talk about it next week. There's a million of these games, and none of them have done well.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Mishka though. Of the three, that one looks the most.
It looks
promising
cool.
to me,
I would
personally.
play this game. I'm just saying it's not going to make any money. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, of the three, which would you say has the best chance? Right?
Maybe number one, but even
you know-
then, all right. I'm sorry. I should do a little bit more digging on this, but.
But I guess, like, Joe,
So-
what's setting your opinion about it? Like, you look at that video, it looks like a dual stick, single button action game, and you have the character running around. Like, what part of that is saying, like, oh my god, this is going to be another $1 billion hit for Supercell?
Well, I didn't say that. I said of the three, that looks the most promising. But I would say that I do. I think that in terms of like user needs and what's missing in the market, there are people looking for fun co-op experiences on mobile. That's just a user need that a lot of people are looking for.
How many times do I have to have this conversation? How many times? I was talking about this at Kabam like 8 years ago. Okay, like I totally 100% agree with you. Everyone that if you do customer research and you do focus groups and you do surveys, everyone's going to say that they want an action RPG on mobile, right? Everybody, right? There's no doubt, 100%. And they're going to tell you exactly what they want. They want a story. They want great graphics. They want amazing gameplay. They want like character progression, all these things that we talk about.
I don't care about the user research.
I know.
Go ahead.
And so
keep going. Go ahead.
But the thing is that no one is willing to spend on that stuff in the West. Like it is a quagmire of shite that people are building these games that no one really wants, because yes, they will download and play them, but they'll churn out as quickly as possible. There's no re-engagement mechanisms. There's no business model going forward. They're not investing in single characters. The only thing they care about is collecting characters. That's what makes money in the West, right? And so it's all about character collection and upgrade Evo and all that other stuff. And so it is a false positive when you look at CI research to say that this is what people want, because yes, that's what they want, but that's not what they're willing to spend on.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're arguing with me about, Eric. So like, is monetization difficult? I'm not arguing that. I'm saying of those three, this one looks the most promising. They're going to have to figure out monetization in a better way. I personally don't give a shit if these games make zero in the West, so long as they make money globally. So if there's a way of making money in other markets, that's fine too. And
I'm just disappointed.
One thing I will say is we were right. Like predicted, Supercell would be working on 2 games, an auto chess game and a CCG, more like Hearthstone. I feel like there's a team probably secretly working on that game as well. But I mean,
secretly.
What?
I don't know.
No, I think so. I mean, there's only a few genres that make a lot of sense for Supercell. So I think
know,
that
and they're not building them.
That's probably another game in the works, and we'll see if they launch that at some point as well.
I guess like when you say like which games best fit Supercell, it's funny. It's funny with the action RPG, model, right? Like when it's a co-op PvE focused games as a service, that's typically where they've faltered. Yeah. But anyways, I'll go through my
yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what you guys are arguing with me about, because it's not like I disagree with the sentiments, right? I'm just saying of those three.
No,
like,
Joe, we're only doing
promising.
This because we enjoy picking on you. It's just the funnest thing to do on the podcast.
Yeah, but will the biggest challenge will be monetization? Yep. Are they going to be able to figure that out?
I think their biggest challenge is going to be live content. And I think that's the biggest difference in PvE.
Yeah. It's a similar challenge to League of Legends, right? Wild Rift, which is, from a gameplay perspective, it's great. The gameplay is there. There are people playing that game. Like, I mean, I've got a bunch of people in a Telegram group, and those guys are playing till like 2, 3 a.m. They got jobs and stuff, right? So the gameplay is there, the monetization maybe not quite there, right? And so that's they're still making some money now, right? But for Supercell, if they make a fun game that everyone loves, that's great. Will they be able to solve the monetization challenges? I really hope so. So good luck to Nan. I hope he figures it out. I'd love to see that game. And I'm just saying, of the three, that's the one I would expect to hit, if any.
Yeah. I guess my notes on the ones that I've seen, the Clash Quest game, which is the puzzle game. One thing that I'll correct, the Legend of Solgard game was based on Clash of Heroes, Might and Magic, which is an old Nintendo DS game. Exactly.
Right here.
That game was amazing, right? Did you love that game?
It was on
That
mobile
game was
too.
incredible.
It was on mobile.
Yeah, dude, I put so many hours in that game. Yeah.
And you know where that game was made? Toronto, Canada. Nice. All right. Got my little plug in there. Anyways, but this game doesn't really look like it's completely the same, right? So you said it's actually out, so I could actually play it now? Okay. Which countries is it out in?
It's only in Europe.
All right. Okay. I'll have to pull up the Finland account. Cool. No, I'll definitely check it out, because I think like all of these games are all going to be based on different models. This one has to be CCRPG and a puzzle combination, right? So it has to be built on a number of different progression paths. Like you look at the difference between Empires and Puzzles and say Smashland, like their previous attempt in this space, right? Having a full village building component on top of Hero Collection, on top of all of these events that they're running, right? If they don't have that, I think it's going to be incredibly difficult. So I will definitely come on, man,
dude. Thank you, dude. At least,
come on.
At least he's on my side, dude. He's got the words of wisdom going on right now. All right.
But of the three games, this one's the easiest to monetize.
The first
one of the three.
If they add all those progression vectors.
Yeah,
like,
no.
I honestly love this team, right? Like I've got a huge crush on the game lead here, right? Like awesome designer. But well, come on. You're the one you just had a crush on the CEO of Manticore.
No, I said he's handsome. I don't have a crush on him. I just think he's handsome. He's got the BMI to make things work.
Professional crush, okay? I could have a professional crush.
I'm more jealous of him. Not. I don't have a crush on him. I'm trying to be him. I want to get to that BMI. Like I'm working on it.
Okay. Anyways, but yeah, they need the economic depth, right? They need all these progression paths. They need these ways. They have all these different modes. Like what I'd love to see here in both either the Clash Mini or this mostly Clash Quest is like a roguelike mode like they had in AFK Arena, as well as like going very, very deep on these modes like Conquest, where you just bring in a huge team and there's a huge benefit to having a large collection. They need these things.
They don't, dude. Okay. See, Adam and I speak the same language, but he says it much more eloquently than I do. They don't have the depth.
Because I respect the team. You just don't respect the team. It's fine.
No, I don't. It's not about respect. It's what's possible. What's capable of making money, right? And I don't think any of these things are capable of making any type of serious money. And for the reasons that Adam said.
Okay, good. On auto chess, I'm fine with them being this late because honestly, the space, like everybody rushed to that auto chess model and it was fundamentally broken. I think we all can agree on that now, right? TFT, even though it's sustaining at a low level, obviously needs a lot of live content in order to maintain that. And monetization is incredibly weak. So if they come in and say, look, we're going to learn from what happened on Clash Royale in terms of their economic scale issues when they get into the further years, right? We're going to build a strategic game based on auto chess that actually has proper monetization through progression, where their audience is absolutely fine with that. They could win this genre, right? Still, you're competing against TFT. It's not a massive genre, but still, they could definitely win the strategy space in there. Clash Heroes, that's the one where I also have a lot of respect for Nan, and I think action RPG is a very interesting genre, but I think a co-op dungeon crawler in this space, the gameplay from the video looks very, very simple. My biggest question is, does it actually have the depth necessary to correct all the mistakes from all of these 8 action RPG attempts, like Future Fight and like Raziel from NetEase? So one thing that was interesting was when you looked at the characters, right? Is it actually a single character RPG, which to me is kind of dead on arrival, or is it a character collection game where you're trying to work your way through these levels and then it becomes a content treadmill, right? And is non ready for that?
Yeah,
No, it does
It
not.
says
It
you
does
have
not
to
at
collect
all.
characters.
No. All right. Well, we'll have to look into it. Doesn't look good.
Anyways, we've already gone too deep on this.
I want to
But
say a
it's-
couple of things about it.
It's not a squad based game though. It's a single player
Yeah.
game. Even if you have to collect it, if you're not using them on a regular basis, then that's not.
We'll see about
that's not the
okay.
same.
So
All right, moving on. Let's move on.
All right, moving on.
Wild Rift. So I was hoping to do this segment this week, and then Joe got lazy, and Eric just forgot about it.
Busy.
No.
I've been swamped.
Hold on a minute. Let me correct this. Joseph is super freaking busy. Eric is being lazy.
Okay.
Yeah. No, there's a huge difference.
I thought Joe was up until 2 a.m. playing League of Legends.
No.
Oh, come on. Okay. But anyways, yeah. So
Recruiting.
League of Legends is now out
Okay.
in open beta. So it currently feels like a global launch. I'm not really sure exactly how this is all going to run. But anyways, starting March 28th, they had their global launch. It's released in the United States. And sorry, do you guys hear the background noise?
Yeah. What is it like? Is Canada getting bombed or something? Is that like
That's my neighbor. I don't know what
is that like a nuclear attack warning? You know, maybe you should get off the podcast and go like find your family.
Anyways, Wild Rift is out.
Get in the bunker.
I guess we'll cover it next week because we've already gone through in depth here, and I guess you guys need to come prepared with your actual estimates. But the prediction, at least we'll set that in stone. The prediction that we'll be making next week, so tune in next time, is how much revenue will League of Legends make in its first year post open beta launch in the West. So that will be March 8th, 2021 to March 27th, 2022. iOS and Android, no China, no Korea, no Japan, and no Taiwan, to focus solely on Western, non-Asian revenue. And that's a prediction to see how much revenue they'll make in that first year. You guys all agreed? Everyone ready?
I agree. It's a bloodbath
Okay.
out there, dude. There's so many corpses on that hill.
Yeah.
We'll see what these guys can do with
So we're not
their
even-
reach.
No.
You know what? I was actually
Nothing. We're not doing the
Go ahead.
prediction now. We're not throwing any numbers.
no.
If half the people on the podcast didn't even prepare.
Well, after failing relatively hard on Call of Duty, I'm going to give this a little bit more thought. But you know what scares me a little bit is that the Teamfight Tactics game that Riot put out didn't get even that many downloads.
It was 15 million
right?
downloads for that, and Runeterra, which was Apple's Game of the Year, got 13 million installs.
Yeah, it's like these type of games do not scale the way you'd hope. Like back to Clash of whatever the fucking Clash of Clans game is that they're doing. That quest game, the RPG
Clash
will do a
Quest,
lot
yeah.
more downloads than
Yeah.
this type of game.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's
anyway,
Clash
all right. I don't know why I'm tipping my hat here, but basically you can't make money on a game unless it gets that type of scale, right? Like this. So that's kind of where I'm leading anyway. But we'll talk about it next week.
And how much of that Call of Duty mobile launch actually just came from like organic interest in the game versus user acquisition during launch?
Well, they spent a shit ton of money at launch to get this thing out there. Like whatever.
Like you're looking at the peaks here, right? Like we had, 3 million one day from League of Legends at launch versus Call of Duty Mobile had 16 million in one day.
Yeah.
It was massive. So think about this. Think about the previous launches. Think about Brawl Stars launching, and think about League of Legends launching. Like they had their first peak that came in last year, and that was like 8 million, and then they cut off UA, and now they came for the second peak, and that second peak, which was sort of like a global launch where they did a little PR, was even smaller than the first peak. So the fact that they're not going all in is kind of worrisome here. Like there's no like League of Legends is here, everybody play. Let's get like 40 million downloads in the first week. No, there's nothing.
Yeah. I think they're probably making the argument that they have a better content plan later, that they want to make sure that people are engaged when the content is fully.
This is going to be
but-
Runeterra. This is Runeterra.
I don't know, man.
I'm telling you. Like they're already thinking about.
I already made this prediction. By the way, dude, I made this prediction like 4 weeks ago. I said, look, this is good. Runeterra was the biggest disaster in 2020, and this is going to be the biggest disaster in 2021 in terms of disappointment.
No,
The
No.
biggest
I said the biggest
disaster? Was it the
disappointment. This disappointment. Now, didn't I say? Do you remember me saying this?
Oh, disappointment.
No?
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna have to go get the audio. God damn it!
Well, I have to say, I played this game over the weekend. I played it both on iPhone and iPad, and I'll be, we're all fans of Riot here, at least everybody except Eric. But but honestly, like
I'm too old and slow to play
Yeah.
League of Legends, man. I just don't have that twitch, dude. My fingers can't move that fast.
It's not even about
so
that. Like, I didn't feel like there was anything new. Like, I played Arena of Valor before. I played Vainglory when it came. Like, Vainglory at least had different output, but this is like a good 5v5 mobile. They made a little bit accessibility things, but even the accessibility that they talked about, like when the game starts, it shoots that League of Legends MOBA jargon on you, like jungler, ganking, laning. Like, I understand what these mean, but I remember when I heard it for the first time, I need to have a tutor next to me explaining what these words mean. But in this game, there's none of that. It just shows you here how you move. This is the touch controls.
No,
They've got a tutorial for all that.
There?
Yeah, like they. I feel like this game actually is the best onboarding experience for a MOBA.
Did I skip the
out there,
tutorial?
sure.
I'm a dummy. Sorry, I think I skipped the tutorial.
The pre-screen kind of sucks. The AOV pre-screen, like before you go into a match,
the game didn't feel like anything new.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, but it's not new.
I actually think the gameplay is good.
Yeah,
the gameplay is good. Their
sucks.
social sucks. They don't have clans,
very
which sucks.
lonely.
There's some
Like,
other
I
parts
was
that aren't
waiting
as great.
Yeah, but to be honest, like, is clans the reason why? Like
No, I mean,
I don't think
Go ahead.
social in terms of
it's
clans
like voice
is critical for
It's
version
voice
1
chat.
at launch, right?
Yeah,
it's not
They could do
critical, but they could do
There's-
it better.
That's an area of growth, but I feel like the crux of it has to be: can they actually sustain this audience?
Dude,
One thing people aren't talking about is that their chat is a lot better, right? Because right now, anyone who's like 13 or younger cannot play AOV without seeing, racist, homophobic, really graphically disturbing chat happen.
How
But
do
you don't have that
graphically
in
disturbing
Wild Rift.
chat? Is it like an ASCII thing?
Well, no,
just
not
generally
but
curious.
just like the way they
okay.
describe some of the text. Like, I'm gonna X you in the, whatever you. So you don't want to see that for your kids. That's all over AOV,
So we can
not
say
in
that
Wild
the
Rift.
key
And it's a lot
reason why
harder to chat in
AOV
Wild
is
Rift.
one of the biggest mobile games in the world is because of that.
No. I'm saying that Wild Rift could get a younger Western audience. Not that makes. I'm not saying that makes a meaningful difference, but you will. You're definitely not going to see younger kids in AOV if their
I don't
parents
know.
have anything to do with it. That's one issue that Tencent's going to have to clean
dude,
up
you
with.
guys, the
Pokemon
forest through
Unite
the
as
trees
well.
here is that a MOBA is not going to work in the West
100%.
on mobile, no matter how well it's designed. So you could talk about fucking language filters and whatever content cadence or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like this type of gameplay is not going to work, and that's the way it's been for the last decade.
Well, I think it depends on how you define work. Like I think there will definitely at some point. I don't know if it's like today. There will be a top 100 grossing game in the West.
Top
That's a
100.
MOBA.
Yeah,
At some
Mobile
point.
Legends was
Again, I
that.
don't know if it's today, but it'll happen.
Mobile Legends was top 100.
It-
Yeah, you.
Mobile Legends was top 100 globally. Was
in the
it
US.
top 100 like US West? Okay, well, we're already there.
It's just,
Eric is just depressed.
MOBAs will have an increasing part of the market. Now, will it be top 10? That's debatable, but like it'll definitely have a pretty decent market
I think,
okay market.
It's
in
going
the
to
West at
do
some point.
relatively well, but it's going to be disappointing numbers for Riot because their expectations are super high.
yeah, that's a consistent theme.
Yeah.
All right, which game did you say is top
MOBA
100?
Legends. Bang bang. Mobile Legends.
Oh, you mean Mobile Legends Bang Bang?
All right.
Yeah, bought by ByteDance last week. Moonlit something Moonton. Yeah,
Moonton
Moonton
Active.
So
No.
That's just Moon.
Exactly.
Moon Active is Coin Master, guys.
Too many names.
I'll give you that one.
Anyways, I feel like we're puttering
but,
out here.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. All right.
By the way, Eric, you playing Outriders?
Oh yeah, shoot! I meant to do that in the review. I mean, in the updates. Yeah, I got through the to level 30. I mean, I got to level cap, so I'm at the end game.
Really?
Oh, man.
I find that it's so. The story is so bad. The core gameplay's pretty.
Hey, dude, this is like Heart of Darkness shit, dude. It's like the same fucking storyline ever, dude. I mean, I actually don't mind the story. I don't mind the story. I don't mind the gameplay. I think that the systems are good in terms of character. Yeah. The guns are really cool because they are a little bit differentiated, and definitely the skills are super cool. So all the pieces are there, right? And if I were to, oh my god, I was thinking about it. Anyway, nonetheless, the game is really good, but the end game, it just fucking blows up for me because for me personally, I cannot stand time-based stuff. When I have time pressure, it's just so stressful. It's not fun, right? Like I want things I can go completion and take my time if I need it, right? But if you're racing against the clock, that kind of pulls me out completely. And that's like the entire Elder game is based upon that. Not the entire Elder game, but the main components of actually progressing and getting gear is like that. And if it wasn't for that, I think I'd be in. But now I'm a little bit.
Yeah, from an RPG designer's perspective, they did that because they needed to have those DPS checks on your gear.
Yeah, I know.
The easiest way to do it is with time.
I know why they did it, and I have to play it a little bit more to see if the more gear I get, so much easier it becomes, that it becomes a little bit more progressive. But still, the stress of time just sucks. But what I really wanted to say was that this was what Anthem should have been. Like, you know, like maybe I'm very simplistic in my thinking here, is that this is what Anthem was meant to be, really, right? Post-apocalyptic characters. I mean, I know it's not mechs and stuff, but like the same idea, looter shooter in this kind of universe with like towns and you know, moving from location to location, going through this story. Like, I honestly just think they took fucking Anthem and fixed it. You know, that's what People Can Fly did with this game, and I thought they did a really good job for a relatively smaller team. I mean, I think it's an exceptional achievement. I think the end game still needs work, as all these games end up being, but I'll play it. And then for the super core that have literally been playing the game for a week, they're all legendaries out. I don't know what they do now, right? And that's they're going to lose that audience pretty quickly if there's nowhere else to do. And this is the thing; it's only been out a week, you know. And you go look on YouTube and you see these guys like with just super like tricked out gear at the highest levels, you know. So anyway, it was a good game. It was really it's worth playing, I think, and particularly as a any type of designer or in the business of creating a game like this, I think it is a good comp, right?
Oh, we're still rolling.
I think we bored the audience.
I was getting into that part. That was
yeah.
All right, let's call it a wrap here, guys.